Hey there, and welcome. Over the next few minutes, we're going to talk about something we all do, talking on the phone for work. But here's the thing, mastering professional phone communication in English, it's not just about getting your point across. It's really about building these clear, confident connections that, define your whole professional brand. So, let's dive right in. So why are we starting with a big number like 22? Well, it's pretty fascinating. Research out of Stanford found that stories are a whopping 22 times more memorable than just facts alone. And that's where it gets interesting. Because every single phone call you make, it tells a story. It's like this little micro story about how competent you are, about your personal brand. So the real question is, what kind of story are you telling? All right, here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll talk about why your voice tells a story and why that connection matters so much. Then, we'll get into the diplomatic playbook, basically the right words to use. After that, we'll tune into the music of your voice. Then we'll tackle some of those tricky communication hurdles we all face. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by talking about how your voice is your brand.
Okay, let's start with the foundation. A phone call is so much more than just swapping information, right? Think about it. There are no visual cues. They can't see you nod or smile. So your voice, it's everything. It instantly paints this picture of your professionalism, which makes every single conversation a pretty high-stakes chance to tell your story well.
And check this out. When you're really communicating effectively, you're not just talking to the part of their brain that processes words. Nope, you're actually engaging their emotions, their senses. You're creating this full brain experience for them. Honestly, mastering this skill is like a professional superpower. It takes a simple interaction and turns it into a really memorable, positive connection.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? Knowing what to say is obviously just as crucial as knowing why it's important. And this is where something called politeness markers come into play. These are the magic words and phrases that kind of grease the wheels of our professional conversations. They're what build trust right from the moment you say hello. So what are they really? Think of politeness markers as your main tool for, let's call it, diplomatic English. They're just little linguistic tricks that soften what you're saying. This means you can still be assertive and get your point across, but you're doing it in a way that shows respect. It's the best of both worlds. You get things done and you build great relationships.
Let's look at a super clear example. On one side, you have a direct command, give me the report. Yeah, it's efficient, I guess, but it can sound pretty harsh. Now look at the other side. By just adding a phrase like, could you please, it completely transforms that command into a polite, respectful request. It's such a tiny change, but the impact on the tone, it's huge. Here's another one. I need this done by tomorrow. Man, that just puts all the pressure on the other person, doesn't it? But if you use a softer phrase like, is there any chance we could get this by tomorrow? See how that softens the urgency? It completely shifts the dynamic. It's no longer a demand, it's a collaborative suggestion, and that makes people so much more willing to help you out.
Okay, let's add 3 more really powerful tools to your playbook here. First up, always acknowledge their point of view before you disagree. Something like, I see your point, but goes a long way. Second, if you have to deliver bad news, give them a little heads up with a word like unfortunately. It just prepares them for what's coming. And third, use words like however to soften the jump from something good to something not so good. Trust me, these are absolutely essential for getting through those tricky conversations.
So, we've got the right words down. That's a great start. But what's just as important is let's call it the music you use to say them. We're talking about intonation, because how you say something can literally change everything.
Yeah, the linguist J.C. Wells really nailed it when he said intonation is the melody of speech. It's that rise and fall in your voice. That's what carries all the emotion in your real attitude. It's the difference between sounding confident versus uncertain or genuine versus, sarcastic. It really is the hidden layer of communication. Okay, listen to this. I'm going to say a phrase with a falling tone at the end. Ready? Shut the door. You hear that? That drop at the end? That falling sound signals a command. It's direct, it's final, everyone knows it's in order.
Now let's use the exact same words, but just change the music. Shut the door? See, that little rise at the end instantly makes it sound like a question, right? A polite request. The words didn't change at all, but the meaning is worlds apart. Now that is the power of intonation.
And this applies to pretty much everything you say. A falling thank you sounds really formal and sincere, but a rising thank you sounds way more casual, like a quick thanks as you're walking by. Just being aware of this one little thing lets you perfectly match your tone to any situation, whether it's a huge thank you to a client or just a quick nod to a coworker. All right, so we've got our diplomatic words and we understand the music of our voice. Now it's time to put these tools to the test. Let's look at some of those common, sometimes awkward challenges that pop up on phone calls all the time.
Okay, here's one we've all been through. You're on a super important call, the connection gets staticky, and you totally miss what they just said. What do? It's easy to panic and just blurt out what, but that can come across as pretty rude. The good news is there's a much, much better way to handle it.
You've actually got a bunch of great professional options. A simple "sorry" with that rising tone we talked about works perfectly. Or you can be a little more specific. "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that." My personal favorite is "sorry, you're breaking up a little bit." It's great because it blames the technology, not the person speaking, which is always a good move. Okay, another classic hurdle. Putting someone on hold. You need to look something up, right? But just hitting that hold button can be a total relationship killer. Get this, some research shows that almost half of younger callers will just hang up right away. Ouch. But don't worry, you can totally avoid that with a really simple, respectful process.
It's a super simple 3-step process. Number 1, ask for permission. Something like, "Do you mind holding for a moment?" This gives them a sense of control. Number 2, explain why, while I pull up that information for you. This shows them you're actively working to solve their problem. And number 3, the most important one, set a time frame. It should only take about 90 seconds. This manages their expectations and proves you respect their time. Do these 3 things and their patience goes way, way up.
Okay, we're in the home stretch now. Let's pull everything we've talked about together. We've covered the words you choose, the music of your voice, and the strategies for those tricky spots. Now let's see how it all combines to create your professional image, one phone call at a time.
So really, it all boils down to a simple formula. It's about consciously combining these 3 things. The diplomatic words, they build respect. The right intonation, that conveys the right attitude. And having a clear strategy for hurdles, that builds trust. When you get all 3 of those working together, that's when you start creating these really powerful, positive connections.
And that's really the big takeaway here. Great phone communication isn't just some soft skill. It is a strategic tool, for sure. Every single time you pick up that phone, you have a choice. You can have a simple transaction, or you can build a strong connection. And the skills we've just gone over, they give you the power to always choose connection.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one last thought. Your voice is without a doubt one of the most powerful branding tools you have. It tells a story about your confidence, your competence, and how much you respect the person on the other end of the line. So after everything we've talked about, the only question left is, on your very next call, what story are you going to tell?